So, watching that absolute shit show that took place yesterday at Westminster, the emergency debate on the mini budget, it's clear and self evident that Britain is entering the realms of a failed state. Liz Truss, the worst Prime Minister this country's ever had since records began, and that's saying something, sat there like a pillar of salt as her newly installed Chancellor Jeremy Hunt effectively took over the reins of government, snatching them from her like a angry father snatching a joint from his recalcitrant daughter after catching her smoking one in the bathroom. This is where we are now. The fact that this woman has not been horsed out of office is proof positive that the Tory establishment cares little for democracy and more for power at any cost. Jeremy Hunt, Dr. Austerity, is intent on taking the country back to the future, which means to say nailing working class people and the most vulnerable onto the cross of that mass experiment in human despair that we suffered for 10 years under David Cameron and George Osborne. This is not about economics, it's about ideology. Liz Truss is a failed experiment. The Tory establishment has failed the British people, and it's time for a transformative change. Liz Truss is the kind of leader that normally passes through the history of a state as the immediate precursor to revolution. She has no answers for any of the challenges of the 21st century, and neither does Jeremy Hunt, despite all the propaganda to the contrary. As for Sir Keir Starmer, Penny Mordaunt skewered him, and this will follow this wretched human being right through to the next general election, should he still be Labour leader, which clearly he shall. His lying, his hypocrisy, his deceit is unbounded, and generally the electorate don't like people who come to the table with those kind of qualities, despite the policies that he may offer to the contrary, because they can't believe a word he says. How can you when, as Mordaunt points out, he went back on every one of the pledges that he fought the Labour leadership contest on 3 years previously. Compare and contrast to Nicola Sturgeon's press conference on the same day laying out the economic case for Scottish independence going forward, which I thought was scintillating, I thought was inspiring, and it's one that every right-thinking person in Scotland can and should get behind. She talked about a well-being economy. She mentioned the intention to establish a Scottish central bank and a Scottish independent currency, both of which were lacking in the perspective for 2014, and both of which played a key role in losing the campaign then. So now we have clear blue water between a putative independent Scotland and the shit show at Westminster that they have the temerity to call the best system and to call the best of all possible worlds. Politics in the UK are broken. There is no real opportunity for change. All they have now, this Westminster mob, all they have to try and maintain a scintilla of cohesion is the calling up, the dredging up of the ghosts of Britain's inglorious imperial past. Winston Churchill, the Second World War, the Empire, Britain's role in the world, etc., etc., fucking etc. It is time for Scotland to go its own way. It has never been more important that Scotland does go its own way, not for the present but for the future. The Tories and the Westminster mob, they are mired in the embrace of the past as a way to the future. We need something that breaks from the past, a past that has done nothing but keep millions of people, working people, in the swamp of low wages, poor housing, zero prospects, despair and immiseration. Scotland can do better, Scotland must do better, and Scotland, I am sure, after listening to Nicola Sturgeon's press conference yesterday setting out the economic case for independence, Scotland will do better. So the game's on. What we do now will live on after us in Scotland. It will have deep ramifications, not only for people in Scotland, but people all over these islands. When they see a shining example, a beacon of an alternative world, an alternative society built on foundations of social and economic justice. Nicola Sturgeon is to be credited with that statement. She talked about increasing collective bargaining, enhancing the role of the unions rather than demonising them as a way to sustainability. Bring it on. Scottish independence is now the very essence of an idea whose time has come. Peace out.